welcome to this week's episode. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce you to my guest today, who is Victoria Heath, a hypnobirthing instructor and a good friend of mine. So welcome to the podcast, Victoria. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Sally Ann. It's lovely to see you and all the people who are watching this wherever they are. So yeah, I'm a hypnobirthing teacher. I've been teaching for about 13 years now, I think. I'm also a hypnotherapist, a life coach. And I'm a hypnotherapist because and a hypnobirthing teacher because my mum was a birth teacher. She taught for the NCT actually for many years, and then she trained their trainers. But she felt that always there was a bit that was missing. There was just a bit that when they got to the day, they just didn't quite know what to do. They knew it in their heads, but they didn't know it in their bodies. And hypnobirthing is just the most brilliant set of skills for growing your baby, getting the neural pathways started so that babies are marinated in calm and learning appropriate reactions to things, even as their bones are growing and their fingernails are growing, their neural pathways are growing, and they're growing into the little people that you want them to be in the future. And that, Mummy said, that's what needs to be done. You need to know what to do on the day, and you need to grow these babies as calmly and as ready for life as possible. So that's why I started teaching, and it's so gorgeous. And once I realized that it actually works for everything, and it was changing people and their partners for life going forwards, then I realized what I actually needed to do was train to be a hypnotherapist. So I did that next. And gorgeous, lovely, really nice results for people and happy days and a gorgeous way to work. And then I decided to do some training with a group called One of Many, who train women to be coaches and actually to just achieve more easily and better in their lives. And I found that works so brilliantly for mums when they're coming out of that bit where you immerse yourself in being with lots of small children in the early days, and then sometimes women can go, who am I, where do I, what's next, how do I be a mum, a partner, my own woman, have my friends, how do I fit that in and work? And so the life coaching really helps people to get into the right space for that. Is that a good enough explanation of what I do?
It's perfect. I really want to explore a little bit more about your childhood. So how old were you when your mummy did this training, that she learned this amazing stuff? Because to have had that throughout your life, not just because you came to it as an adult, I feel like that's so special.
Yeah, well, I was steeped in the learning. That's the thing. You don't know you're learning when you're a child. You don't realise it's not what everyone else is getting. My mum and dad had me, and then 3 years later had my sister Kitty, who's nearly 3 years younger. And then 7 years later had a happy accident, which is my gorgeous brother Oliver. So obviously I was 10 by then, by the time he arrived. So I was really quite involved in learning about it all when she was pregnant, and lots of looking after him when he was born. He's such a joy to us still. He's my little brother of 6'3" now. And after that, Mummy trained she'd done her classes with the NCT. She thought it was great. She needed to do something from home, not be going out all the time. And so she did learned the NCT stuff then. And it was very different in those days. It was the Natural Childbirth Trust, which is, it's not anymore. It's the National, isn't it? So it's a different thing. So that's, and that just birth was everywhere around me. And it didn't scare me. I used to take the coats when people got there. So you used to have a class of 8 couples. I'd take the coats and have a little chat with them and show them into the sitting room. Mum would be often feeding Ollie to sleep whilst I was doing all of that. Then half time I came in and I'd made the teas and the coffees, and I chatted to people again, and I got to kind of know them a little bit. And then I used to go and see them afterwards with mummy. When they'd had their babies, we'd go and say hi afterwards. And so I saw people pregnant often arriving kind of a bit wide-eyed and scared at the beginning, and then the confidence that they got through the classes, and then saw them learning to be parents and breastfeeding. And in fact, the first time I was out and about and I saw somebody flick a dungaree strap, not in a birthing environment, I was quite sure they were going to get a breast out, and it was just a friend, and we were down at the park, and she got a bit too hot in her jumper. But that's how my life was. Birth everywhere, lots of babies. I had made a lot of money babysitting, I have to say, because everyone knew that my mum was just around there to save them if I needed help.
This story doesn't surprise me, because you are so passionate about supporting and advocating for, positive birth experiences overall. And this is a part of the story I hadn't heard before. So it's wonderful to hear how you came to this and how it runs right through you, which is just lovely. And so you've had 3 children, and presumably you had those children before you went on to become a hypnotherapist yourself, did you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my children Felix is going to be 30 this year. Oscar was 28 yesterday, and Scarlett's 25. So they're all, settled enough on their own now. Yeah, I was living quite far away from my mum, but she came to all of my births with me. Her friends in the birthing world supported me whilst I was pregnant. I came up to London for my scans and to learn childbirth classes, actually, with Caroline Flint, who's a completely glorious midwife. So I had the best of the best to be helping me, and I was very lucky. But the thing is, what I realized is that I approached birth with the trust and the confidence that my body knew what it was doing, that was my raison d'etre. Yes, I had ideas of what I'd like to do with my life, but I was here programmed ready to birth babies, and my mum told me from quite early on, that the eggs in her ovaries were actually in her when she was a baby, in her mum. So I had such a wonder of what my body could already do. And mummy said, people don't trust birth, but yet when they're pregnant, they are expecting that their baby they'll get one of those day-by-day books, and it'll tell them what their babies are doing that month. And they'll expect that their baby's growing a heartbeat this week. They're having fingernails at some point. They're going to get, I don't know, toes, whatever. And we're not saying, oh, body, could you just make some toes this week because my baby's going to need toes so it can walk? We don't think that. And yet when we get to birth, which is also programmed into our subconscious mind, we don't think we can do it, but we're already programmed for it. So when you think about it like that, A, nature is bloody amazing. And B, why would we question it? Learn some things so you can stay chilled and let your body do what it knows how to do. That's what I grew up with. I had all 3 babies with my mum there. I had preeclampsia the first time, and was planning to have a home birth. Ended up having my baby in hospital because it was safer, but I'd asked all the right questions, and my mum was there with me, and she was keeping the room safe for me, and having the difficult conversations I didn't know they were going on. My husband held me and stroked me and told me I was gorgeous, and I had a baby. Then I had the next one at home with my mummy there, 2 hours, active labour, absolutely delightful, snuggled up in bed, and everyone sort of left us to it. 3rd baby, preeclampsia again, had her induced early, and another gorgeous birth. My home birth midwife came in with me, and she welcomed her into her arms because I was kneeling down, I couldn't pick her up myself, and said, "Hello, Scarlett, your mummy's been waiting to meet you." Handed her through my legs and up onto my chest. Now, I avoided any real intervention there. each time. So with my mum keeping the room safe in our doula capacity and my husband supporting me. That's why I trusted birth completely. Then she kept sending me these birth stories from people who'd had glorious births, often from the women, sometimes from the husbands as well. The women always saying, oh my God, it was spectacular. It was amazing. It was definitely what ought to have happened. And I couldn't have done it without my partner. And the dad saying, Christine, I know you said how spectacular women are, but I had no idea of the power. What women can do is just, and every story said this, every story. This is when she was teaching hypnobirthing. And she kept on saying, darling, are you not ready to do this yet? And I said, Mummy, I'm doing other things. I'm busy. I've got 3 small children. I'm a relocation agent. I've got horses and dogs and, I'm busy. And then in the end, when I was listening to the other people around me who were having some pretty daft times having babies and very fearful and all that kind of stuff, I just thought, I have got to do what she said. It's really mean to have these skills and not be helping people that I care about and who I've never met. But everyone should know this. So I trained. First of all, I trained in the Mongol Method because that's the only thing that was here. My mummy was in the first lot. Marie Mongan came over from the States and taught a small group of people. My mum was one of them. And so I trained with the Mongan lot. And it was good training, but it was very American and they weren't very kind to their teachers. So I changed and learned Catherine Graves, who is a glorious woman. Very, very clever, gentle, really gentle and lovely and kind. And I taught that for a little bit, but it wasn't really me. And then the Wise Hippo came out and it's a bit more funky and it's a bit more giggly. And I like to do my learning with a bit of giggly. So I trained and did that as well. And that's the one I'm still teaching now because I think it suits what's going on in the world right now and in the birthing world in England particularly.
So you really recommend Wise Hippo, because I think a lot of people who might be listening to this, who've got the opportunity to take a hypnobirthing course, are often confused by which one to choose, because obviously there are a wide selection to choose from. So from your perspective, Wise Hippo is a great way of learning hypnobirthing in a fun way.
Yeah, I really do. And it's it's all put together by Danny Griffiths, who is a hypnotherapist, so it's good grounding. It's been taken on by Tamara now, and she's great at running it. She always was, and she really is brilliant, and the support we get is spectacular. And I think it matters how your teacher is being supported. I really do, because we want to teach with passion. Now, I'm not saying that the Wise Hippo is the only thing. I think it's a really sound education from us, because we've had a really sound education. But actually, word of mouth is amazing. Yes, I'd like to sing, blow the Wise Hippo trumpet because I think they're great. But if you know someone who's had really good birth and done hypnobirthing with somebody, either online or local to you, do that. Do that. If you trust those people, do that. But you'll get a feel for it. Read their website. With anything, if you're choosing a doula, you get to interview them, don't you? You get the doula to come and talk to you or chat to you on the phone. Most hypnobirthing teachers will have a little chat with you. Everybody does everything by text these days. But if you want to know if I'm the right teacher, call me. If you don't like swearing, don't call me. Sometimes I swear.
Yeah, I like a good swear.
Yeah, well, I can't guarantee that one won't pop out when I feel passionate. And when I stop feeling passionate about birth, I'm simply going to stop teaching it.
Yeah.
Because I think every couple deserves to learn it with heart and soul and passion, because it's one of the most amazing, life-changing, can be exquisite moments of your life or days of your life. Yeah. And the way that you start your birthing and parenting journey is really important. And one of the things I'd say is that when you're growing a baby, it's not just growing physically. The neural pathways for that baby's mindset and way of coping with life are forming all the way along there. And so well, I teach couples, well, I teach the mums to get themselves really calm when stressful things happen. So if you're driving to work, obviously lots of people aren't driving to work now, but if you're driving, say somebody cut you up in the traffic and you think, oh no, and you know, the adrenaline comes up, your fight or flight comes up, you stamp on the brakes and you think, don't they know I'm pregnant? You nearly caused a crash. Oh my goodness, it could have been terrible. Now it's really normal for you to feel like that. And then it's really important that you get yourself calm, because the baby is sharing a blood supply with you and our emotions are shared hormonally into our blood supply. So that adrenaline, that fight or flight, that uncomfortable feeling that we get is going round in your baby. And you want to get that down as quickly as possible. You don't have to feel bad that you've felt like that, because this baby needs to learn about the usual normal rhythms of life. But you want to get it calm as quickly as possible. And the glorious thing about that is that if you do that with the simple breathing and relaxation techniques you learn, if you do that straight away, then your children, as babies in the womb, start to learn that it's okay to feel shit, because the next thing that comes along is just really nice and it all feels good. So you're teaching them to feel the fear and do it anyway. And who doesn't love a person in life who just tackles life head on? Feel the fear, do it anyway. I'll be fine. Come on. You know, and I'm not saying don't use your mind as well to filter out, is this a good idea to jump off a large cliff and hope that there's still going to be there for you to, you know, tombstone into. But, you know, give it a go. That's what I love about hypno babies. And then the mums are calm themselves, because they're noticing when they're stressed and they're getting themselves calm quickly. They're doing it for their baby, but it's changing their neural pathways for life. I have dads saying that they've taken the skills into work with them. And one dad who was an anaesthetist, and he said it's very stressful at work. I'm playing God, literally. There's lots of noise, there's lots of bleeps, a lot's going on in a theatre, and I have to be really chilled. He said, I use those skills, Victoria, and I just don't notice any of that. If somebody looks at me and asks me something, I'm totally able to answer, but all of that disappears and I'm very focused on what I'm doing. And that took his energy levels, you know, so he came home from work not knackered, because all of that stress of all filtering all of that just didn't happen for him. So skills for life.
Absolutely. And really does kind of send that message home about how important it is to stay as stress-free as you can in pregnancy, because your baby is marinating in your emotions and your feelings and what you're experiencing. And like you say, you can't prevent yourself from having moments that are a little bit shocking or scary, but as soon as you get the opportunity to bring yourself back down and find that calm moment, your baby will benefit from that. So that's brilliant advice.
Absolutely. Do you know that babies who are grown in war-torn areas, they've done you know, like mobile scanning on women, and the babies are rubbing their legs together or stroking the umbilical cord to try and get some endorphins, some feel-good hormones releasing in their bodies. So they will self-medicate, even if you're a really stressed person. But one of the things that I was talking to a client recently about in a birth debrief, because after you've done your course and you've had your baby, we come, you know, they come back and we talk it all through. And this mum said that her mum was very stressed. She found it easy to be anxious. Her mum was very stressed. Her grandma was very stressed. It was a thing. The women in their family were highly anxious. And because of the work that she and her husband did, with some light touch stroking to get the endorphins going, because of all of this work they did on many different homeworks, they managed to change that in their baby. They have healed the, you know, the issues of the past, literally ancestral healing. It's wonderful, and that baby now has a chance to go forwards in that laissez-faire way, that, you know, yeah, whatever, it'll be fine. And that is what I think. The world is getting more connected, more stressful, 24/7 connection, and this is a way to support ourselves going forwards in a very different world to the ones our mums brought us into.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's go back to basics then, and you tell us, what is hypnobirthing?
Okay. So what I teach is, and what any of the people who are teaching you hypnobirthing will be teaching you, self-hypnosis. So ways to get yourself really nice and calm. Most hypnobirthing courses will teach you about birth as well. You'll learn what the muscles are doing in the uterus. You'll learn why it's important to use different birth positions. Partners learn how to support their gorgeous pregnant mummies as well as they can possibly be supported. There's no longer a sort of a guesstimate about whether the support that you get through labour is valuable and incredibly important. It really is. Your partner, whoever is coming in, if it's a birth partner, if it's a birth partner and a doula, we need to be supported well. Hormonally, we need that. So part of what you learn is how to be in the best hormonal and physical shape for birth, and how to maintain that in labour. In order to get these things to work, the couples learn, like I said, they learn this stroking technique to get the endorphins to come, your natural pain relief, which is 40 times, like per vol. If you had your endorphins or morphine, it's 40 times more powerful than morphine. That's how amazing your body is. But in order to tap into that, we have to make sure that adrenaline isn't there, squishing those hormones and stopping you from bowling along in labour and being comfortable. So I teach the couples breathing techniques, stroking techniques, visualization, and knowing what your body's doing. Because actually what's really scary for people who are going into birth is what I hear over and over again, is that you haven't done it before and you don't know what's happening. You can't see, and we're used to having access to everything. Knowledge is power, and we can look on our phones and we can get that any moment. But when we've got to get primal, because all of this is programmed into our subconscious and we can't see it there, we need to trust. We need to understand what's going on in our body, and then we need to have these skills to take our conscious mind out of the way, the bit that plans and chatters and says, what if, and I've heard this story and that's scary, and we need to get that out of the way, give the conscious mind somewhere gorgeous to go, and let the subconscious get on with what it's programmed to do. And I don't know if you tell your clients this, but if a woman was in a coma, okay, so if something had happened and your conscious mind was disabled, it wasn't working for a while, your subconscious already is, that's the bit that's programmed to birth your baby. So we'd lie you on your left-hand side, we'd put the top leg, the right leg, bend it and sort of put it up out of the way a little bit, and you'd birth your baby.
Yeah,
now,
I do
obviously
that.
Yeah. Now, once you know that, then you can focus on, right, so what am I going to give my conscious mind to think about? Where shall I take it? And I get couples to spend quite a bit of time, with me in the classes, but afterwards as well, learning how it feels to go to this gorgeous place that you've been to before, where it's beautiful, it smells good, you've got emotional calm, and anybody that you want to be there can be there, and anyone you don't want to be there isn't in that lovely place.
Yeah.
And it's great. And we practice. So neural pathways, we've talked about making them for the baby, helping the babies to get neural pathways to calm, and life will be fine. But if we can retrain our neural pathways, every time we start to think a negative thought about birth, we go, no, don't want to do that, take myself to my happy place. Every time we do that, then before you know it, you can do it at the click of a finger, the blink of an eye. And there's no need to wallow in anything scary. Just don't be there. Just be somewhere lovely because it's nicer. And if your conscious mind is happy somewhere nice, what you experience is a shortening of time that it takes to labour, and a happier time. And now if the dads do the practice too, and they listen to MP3s when they're going to sleep at night, which just gently reprograms your mind in a great and positive way, you don't even have to listen. You can fall asleep. And if you both go to bed at the same time and you put this on playing out loud, then what happens is you fall asleep very quickly. Your subconscious mind never switches off because it runs your autonomic systems, keeps your heart beating, keeps your kidneys processing. It does all of that. It keeps the blood going around your body. So if what you've done is listen to that as you go to sleep, your subconscious listens really well for about an hour, and then it never switches off. But these MP3s are kind of 20-25 minutes, so you listen to them as you fall asleep, and both the mum and the dad start to trust birth, start to get easily into that hypnotic state, which we naturally go into as we're falling asleep anyway. That bit where it's just really nice, and you sort of, there's a little bit where you don't know if you're asleep or awake, but it doesn't really matter because it's really nice. And that's when that listening to your MP3s is great. And then what you've done is put a lot of calm, knowledge and gorgeousness in the subconscious, along with that birthing programming, so that when labour starts, you know, your body knows how to do it and your mind knows how to be calm and get out of the way. It's, you know, it's a science. People think that it's, well, not everybody, but some people go, oh my God, isn't that a bit hippy dippy? I don't have hairy toes and I don't wear. It's a science. Hypnobirthing is a science. Now, you can make it a glorious, spiritual, wholesome experience, but it's actually based around science. We want you to get your body's hormones and your body's structure into just the juiciest, best positions and abilities so that you can birth really well. And that's what hypnobirthing is. It happens to spill over into every part of life. One of the most glorious things that I find with the hypnobirthing is that when couples arrive, one of them is usually quite stressy and afraid of birth. Or they might have had a birth before that didn't go quite how they want, and they think, actually, I didn't prepare last time, but somebody else I know has had a great birth, so I'm going to do hypnobirthing because that helped them. But when they're doing this, the practice every day is some really nice breathing and some stroking and a bit of chat, a bit of planning births, the birth plan after we've gone through why you might want to do different things. So they're talking a lot about things. And I'm juicy about emotions and sex, and I think they're important, and we're using the skills they already have of connection, how they talk to each other, how they touch each other, how they do their lives. Now, either they already know on them all those things, amazing, we'll just pull on all of their knowledge and their neural pathways they've got to the joy and connection between them, or they don't know yet but they need to, or maybe they don't need to, they really have an opportunity to deepen their relationship. Now, when they have, what happens with this is that they have this way of connecting that isn't just about talking. And birth often isn't about talking. As you know, women, sometimes they want to talk in labour and sometimes they just don't. So that connection and using the way that they've learned to connect is so powerful in birth. And then, of course, when they're parents, they get to use that all over again. They can, when a small baby crying can be really stressful for everyone.
Yeah.
If you haven't had enough sleep, it can be stressful. But if you have done this stroking and touching before you have your baby, then you only need to walk up to your partner when they're going, it's been a really long day, I don't want to take the baby now. Why won't that baby stop crying? And you just run your hand down their back and their body goes, oh, I know, endorphins. loads of endorphins. I feel good. You feel good. Let's deal with this together. Shall we put the baby in a sling and go for a walk around the block? You know,
Those anchor points are amazing.
aren't they?
Yeah.
And some people know them because their mum and dad taught them, or their grandma taught them, or their auntie taught them, or their best mate did. But lots of people don't know them.
No.
And I always say to couples, well, I say to the dads actually, if when you've seen how amazing your partner is going to be, or it might not be the dads, obviously, birth partners, whoever's with you, I say, when you've supported this birthing woman through her labour, you'll know the phenomenal stamina and power she has. And if she then says to you in the weeks and months and years to come, I really need your support now, could you just do this for me? You'll know that she wouldn't be asking you if she didn't need that help. And you'll know that she's so strong that she can do anything, but she really needs you to do this for her. And it will stand you in such good stead in your relationship. And the other side of that is that if you've supported your partner really well through labour, you've got some brownie points in there, because they'll know that you want the best for them, and that when the chips are tricky, you're there. So I don't know, what's your experience of that? Do you think that's what happens, what you see?
A lot of that information is fascinating to me. The idea that you are literally getting rid of information that produces fear, and by eliminating that, you're in a better place overall, and you have more of a trust in yourself, and seeing the relationship that develops between a couple when they go through the process of learning hypnobirthing is so interesting. And it's one of the reasons why I feel quite passionate that families, couples should do this with a face-to-face, with a one-to-one, or with a group session, but with someone like in a private scenario, rather than just buying an app or a book. Now, I'm not suggesting apps and books don't work, because of course that's perfectly okay if that's your budget, but you don't really get the same effects because you are learning like a simple technique. But what you're describing, Victoria, it's a life skill that runs so deep through you that, like you say, at the end of a long day when your children are 6 and 10, you can still use it. You can tune in when you're in the queue in Sainsbury's, when you have a car accident. If anything happens to you, you can very, very quickly and easily and simply get yourself back to a calm, relaxed state, just because it's so deep within you that you've learned that skill so well, that it's fascinating for me to watch. And I'm just so impressed with how effective it can be. I really am, and I love it.
I think also, these are things that you can use with your children.
Yes.
There are many times, I have 3 fairly alpha children who are very physical. And there are many times when indoor cricket has really made me feel not very happy with them. And it's great to be able to take a deep breath, take your mind to your happy place, turn around, walk out of the room, walk back in, and go, okay, so who's on the dustpan and brush? And who's going to phone the glazier? Because actually life's too short for a lot of the trauma. But once it's out of your mouth, it's out of your mouth, and it's in their ears. So, this bit about it being skills for life is really such a thing. Now, I used to do talks in Mamas and Papas on a Sunday. They'd have in the shop, yeah. People would come in and they'd book in they'd have a little goodie bag, and they'd have a few talks, and they'd have a look at prams and cots and sheets and all that sort of stuff. And the thousands of pounds that got spent on all of the baby equipment, and the wardrobe that they won't need for a long time, and the cot they won't need for 6 months, and all those sort of things. But when it comes to spending money on a course for learning how to have your baby, if you haven't had a baby before, You've got no idea how important that is. Some people can learn the hypnobirthing from a book, and they have. Some people can learn it, just, from from a couple of MP3s. But it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't have the depth. Now, if you're already got a huge body of knowledge about the way that the mind works and all that kind of stuff, that's great. What we think we know and what we actually need to know are not always the same thing. And, it might sound like I'm being a bit bossy or I'm just trying to feather my nest. Really, I'm not. I've got plenty of work at all the things I do. But I want people to have these skills. I want them to know about them. And it's a relatively small investment. Yes, you could get something for 49 quid or 99 pounds or buy a book for 20. I don't know. Yes, you could. But if you're investing in growing your baby with neural pathways that make them those wonderful people who it's lovely to know, who just go through life finding the fun and enjoying it and not worrying too much about the worry bits. If you and your partner are close together and knitted so well with tools in place to support you through parenthood, if you haven't been worrying about birth all the way through because your MP3s have changed your mindset and you're now feeling confident, if you are able to debrief your birth afterwards, which I know you could do with a doula if you have a doula, or you could do with lots of people who teach hypnobirthing will do a birth debrief. If you have access to all of that and you've got those skills for life, that little bit of money you've paid out suddenly looks very, very small. It's a few pair of pretty shoes and it makes a difference to your whole life.
Whole life. Yeah.
Yeah. And that of all of your children. And if you've had daughters, the fact that you have grown your daughter in your body in a state of calm means that her daughters, the eggs, the potential for her babies have been grown in this neutral or calm space. So the potential for us to be able to cope with the stressful lives that everybody has these days, just from doing learning these skills and bringing them into your life, it's a total no-brainer.
Yeah, it's worth every penny.
Yeah, I have a friend who works for a big company with thousands of employees across many countries, and they have one suicide a week at the moment from the stress and the pressures of life. And we have a chance here to grow our children and their children in a way that negates a lot of that pressure and changes their mindset for life.
Yeah, absolutely. So what should a pregnant person do in order to make sure that this tool is most effective?
Okay, so I've thought about this and it's very hard to think of one thing. But basically, if you're feeling stressed, get a calm app. If you haven't done any hypnobirthing yet and you're planning to, get online and find something that you can do to get calm really quickly. Now, if I give you just a really simple breathing technique now, so that you would think about somewhere lovely you've been in your life and think into each of your senses. So imagine what it smells like. Maybe it smells of that gorgeous suntan lotion that is your favorite when you go on holiday. Think about what the temperature on your skin is and make it just perfect. Make it a soft, light, warm breeze. And what does it look like? And then make the colours really bright. Like I said, only your favourite people are there. If anyone's there, you might just want some peace and calm. What are the tastes of that place? Is it ice cream? Is it olives? Is it, I don't know, is it the taste of salt in the air? What does it taste of? So you've filled your senses, the smell, the taste, the look, the feel, just fill your senses with it. Take yourself to that place in your mind and feel into it every time you go for a pee. That's many times as a pregnant woman. And then if we think about one simple breathing technique that hypnotherapists and hypnobirthing practitioners around the world will use, just a simple one to slightly deepen and get you thinking about breathing, because obviously it's an automatic thing. It goes on, breathing just happens. But I tell my mums, breathe to the top of your head. So take just a normal breath in, breathe to the top of your head. And then there's a little pause. We all pause. We don't, unless we're running, we don't do, we don't. We breathe in, there's a little pause. And then when we're ready, we breathe out. And then there's a little pause, and then we breathe in again. And you might like to think that your head is 5, your chest is 4, your stomach and pelvis are 3, top of your legs 2, bottom of your legs 1. And when you get to your feet, think relax. So you breathe in, a little pause, breathe out, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Little pause, and then start again. Now, if you were to do 3 of them or 5 of them an hour, your whole life would change. Your neural pathways would know how to get quickly to that nice calm. You would imagine you had sunburn and you pour that lovely, after sun on, and as it cools down your arm, it just feels amazing. So that's what this is going to do to your stressed mind, all of those stressed bits in your mind. And when I have hypnotherapy clients who come to me, sometimes suicidal, and they're coming, for some treatment with me, and then maybe they go on to be coached by me to get them out to a happier place. I get them to do this breathing, and I get them to stop every hour, do 5 of those, and then just get on with their day. I work quite often with a company who are quite a pacey sales firm. And I'll often get a phone call and it goes, Victoria, is there any chance that you could see one of my staff today? And I have a look through, see if I can see them. And they'll come for an emergency appointment, hour and a half, and the company will pay. And I get them doing this breathing, and I say, I've met your bosses, and they might or might not have done some of this themselves. Look around your office when you go back, and on the hour or the half hour, notice who's shut their eyes and taking some of those lovely breaths. You're not alone. It's entirely normal. And if you don't feel you can do it in a room full of people, go and put the kettle on and do it whilst you stand there. Go and have a wee and do it as you stand there, but not if you're a man, because shutting your eyes when you're doing that's not very sensible. Anyway, so that's a great thing, isn't it? Learn to take your mind to a happy place and learn to do that breathing technique, and it will start to grow your baby in calm. And anything stressful that happens, do that. Break the state. That happened. I've parked up to a safe place. Do the breathing. Take myself to my happy place. You will change your life and the life of your baby.
That's amazing. Thank you. What a wonderful gift that you've given to all of the listeners.
Well, I hope they use it, because it really works.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true.
Couples will start their lessons, and when they come back to the second lesson, by the time they come back to their second lesson, they're already feeling more confident about birth. And by the time they get to the 4th session, they're really excited for when they'll go into labour, because they can't wait to use all the skills they've seen that are working already. And some of them will have had little hiccups along the way where they've perhaps had to go into hospital and have some checkups or something. They've used their skills and they say, it's amazing. Just took all of that stress and worry about that I've had before. Somebody I know, one of my mums broke her ankle, and she said, I just did my hypnobirthing breathing. I just did my visualizations, took the pain away. I didn't need any extra pain relief, which I didn't want to be taking whilst I was pregnant. So I know it works.
It definitely works.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you. So I always like to end with the same question. And my question is, what top tips can you give to any birth partner who is listening about supporting labour and birth? And it doesn't have to be hypnobirthing related. It can be absolutely anything.
Okay. One of the things that I think it's Michel Audin says is that a woman who isn't looking glorious in birth isn't being well enough loved. And that's, if I was to give one tip at all, is for your partner to be looking glorious.
Yeah.
And if she's not, she needs more oxytocin and she needs more endorphins. So you could do that with touch. You could stroke her. You could hug her. You could tell her that she's glorious and amazing and you love her and she's doing such a great job and you can't believe how amazing she is. And she will suddenly get this extra power from somewhere. And the connection that you have with her already and the love you have with her already can be her pain relief. Is that good enough for one thing?
It's perfect. It's perfect. Love her.
You've already practiced it. You've already got some neural pathways there. Use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Victoria, it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure. My absolute pleasure. I always love chatting with you.
Tell us about what services you offer.
So at the moment, I'm offering one-to-one hypnobirthing online. One couple at a time, and it's glorious. If you're single and you want to bring another someone who's going to be at your birth with you, if it's a doula, if it's a parent or a friend, that's fine too. And so I'm doing one-to-one, and that is 2.5 hours, and then 4 sessions of 2.5 hours, and then a birth debrief afterwards. And also, I'm on the phone. You can call me or text me or email me if you have an issue. And I'm a hypnotherapist, so fears and phobias, great for sorting those out. I also do something called EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprogramming, and that's great for people who've had past trauma of anything. If you've had a car crash and you don't want to get in the car again, if you've had a birth in the past that didn't go the way you wanted it to, and it's kind of clouding your thoughts when you're trying to prepare for a gorgeous, lovely birth the next time, it literally takes away. So you will never forget what happened. You'll always know, but the emotion that was attached to that event is no longer attached to it. So you can think back over it and go, oh yeah, this happened, that happened. You could go to a tribunal as a, if you'd been in the army and something had happened, you could go to a tribunal and say everything that happened with absolute clarity, but you wouldn't feel the devastating emotion of it. So I love doing that. It's very quick. You don't have to do anything other than listen to my voice a little bit, and it's great. And then I do life coaching. So I love doing that. Now, sometimes I use it for, like I said, people who are suicidal and they just don't want to be here anymore, even though everything is going their way on paper. And in about 12 sessions, I take them to a place where they're really jolly and notice that the sun's shining and, have new tools and skills for life. Again, it's building a whole load of skills. It's reprogramming you a little bit. And sometimes in that, I put in some hypnotherapy if clients want that, or a bit of EMDR. So I tend to use all my tools, whatever you need, that's what I use. And I often do the coaching, actually, for mums who have been a bit lost in that maze of parenting and maybe lost themselves a little bit. And it is so lovely watching people blossom and learn to use their soft power rather than powering through in a really masculine way, learning how to work with their cycles and know when's going to be a really great time for pushing forwards, when another time it's better to just sit and plan, when to have really juicy conversations with people, maybe to get a pay rise, maybe a tricky conversation with your partner, when in your cycle would be. I mean, who even knew that you could time tricky conversations to your hormonal cycle, Anyway, so that's one of my other offerings. And on top of that, if you've got a barn that you'd like converted in Cornwall, I'm really good at doing that.
You're very good at converting barns, definitely. Oh, all of these things are amazing, and I can't think of a better person to contact to gain support. You're just the best you are. Where can we find you?
So my hypnobirthing is on hypnobirthworks.co.uk, and that's Facebook, and obviously I have a website. And then if you were more interested in hypnotherapy or life coaching, you'd go to victoriaheath.org and find me there. But actually, if you find me anywhere, I'll talk to you about any of it.
Ah, perfect. Thank you so much, Victoria. It's been an absolute joy having you here, and I'll see you soon.
Oh, I do hope so. All right, my lovely. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.